Girlfriend didn't want my son on vacation, then he went missing at the airport? I called the cops on her before searching and she admitted this. I, 32 male, have been with my girlfriend, 29 female, for 1 year. I have known her for a couple of years now, and she has always been sweet and understanding. I'm going to call her Julia for the rest of this post, not her real name, of course. In the beginning of our relationship, things were going pretty well. We got along great, and we were very much in love. About 2 months ago, so around 10 months into dating, I decided to introduce her to my son. Let's call him Jamie. This is also where things began going downhill. She seemed really uninterested in meeting him, and once when I asked if she wanted to hold him, she just sort of said, "It's okay." My son is only 2 years old, but kids can understand when someone doesn't like them, and that's when my feelings for her kind of faltered. I convinced myself that she might just be uncomfortable with my past relationship. That night I tried talking to her about it, and she said that she was just a little nervous, and it reminded her that I would always be tied to my ex because of my son. According to her, she didn't hold anything against my son, of course, but she did feel insecure about the whole situation and especially my last relationship. Please keep in mind that I was in love with this girl, and up until now, I had no reason to not believe her. In the following weeks, I gave her the benefit of the doubt and tried to get her and my son to hang out together. I let her come with me to pick him up from school, play at the park, etc. While she seemed more comfortable eventually, she never really warmed up to him, if you know what I mean. I thought she just needed more time, so I let it go. About a month ago, the actual problem started. My elder sister and her husband were planning a little family vacation to Italy this year and invited me and our younger sister to come along. We were told we could bring our spouses/children too because it was meant to be a family vacation. Both my elder sister, I'll call her K, and my younger sister, I'll call her T, would be bringing their husbands and kids, and I was told I could bring Julia and my son. I was really excited and contacted my ex-wife to let her know the dates, and she agreed that I could take my son with me. Julia's reaction, on the other hand, was something I didn't expect. She was excited when I told her about the trip, but her face literally dropped when I told her it would be a family vacation and Jamie would be coming too. She didn't speak for a while after that, and she nudged me off when I tried to ask her what was wrong. She acted really cold for a couple of days, and I finally had enough and told her that she had to tell me what was going on. She looked at me for a second and then said that she didn't want Jamie to come with us. I was shocked, as I didn't expect her to be so blunt with it. I didn't say anything because what could I even say? I just managed to get out AY quietly. She began ranting about how it was supposed to be a family trip and Jamie wasn't her family, so it was unfair to bring him along, especially when we're planning on starting a family of our own. I was actually too stunned to speak. Not knowing what to say, I just picked up my keys, left the house, got in my car, and started driving aimlessly. I drove around the city for hours without a thought in my mind. Julia was blowing up my phone with calls and texts, so I put my phone on DND and was thinking about what to do next. There was no way that I was going back home that night because I didn't think I could have been in the same room as her after what had happened. Jamie is the sweetest little boy you will ever meet. He's understanding and rarely throws tantrums. He's friendly, and loves people, and I could not understand what her problem was. There was no way Julia, a full-grown adult, was jealous and insecure of a 2-year-old, but here we were. I booked a room at a nearby hotel for the night and finally decided to go over Julia's texts. She had stopped calling by then anyway, so I had some peace and time to myself. There were about 68 texts when I opened my phone. I'm going to copy and paste some of them here. How can you just walk out on me like that? Are you kidding me right now? This is absolutely wrong. Are you not even going to fully hear me out? Then, a while later, listen, I know what I said might have upset you, but please at least talk to me about it. Where are you? Pick up the phone. You're freaking me out. We can work this out. And a little while later, don't bother coming home if this is how it's going to be. You can't just push me away like this after an argument. Please. I'm sorry. Let's talk. And so on. I thought a lot of these were just ridiculous bursts, and now that I had calmed down, I was getting even more furious. This woman was supposed to be the mother of my future children, but here she was being immature and dramatic over a literal toddler. I was feeling a lot of things at that moment and decided it would be best not to make any big decisions just yet. I texted her back to let her know I was at a hotel. I didn't tell her which one, and we could talk about it the next day because I didn't want to see her yet. Fast forward to the next morning, I took the day off of work because I felt like I'd walked through hell the night before, so I packed up and drove home. She was sitting in the living room, looking as if she had cried all night. I'll be honest, I did feel a little bad. She was my soon-to-be fiancé after all. The first thing she did was come over and hug me, but I didn't even want to look at her. We sat down on the couch in silence for some time, and then she started by apologizing again, saying that I needed to hear what she had to say. She repeated the same stuff from the night before and how Jamie shouldn't come on the trip. Her ranting drove me mad. It was my family trip. Who was she to tell me that my son couldn't come? If anything, she was the extra invitee. I held up my hand and told her that I didn't want to hear it again and that he's my son, and will be coming whether she likes it or not. I got up and left the room after that, decided to take a shower, and went on about my day. In the next couple of weeks, I began preparing for Italy. My ex and I worked out passports, papers, permissions, and all those sorts of things. I needed her consent to take Jamie outside the country according to our custody agreement, which she granted to me easily. As I said, we co-parented pretty well and wanted the best for our son. The hotels were booked, flights were planned, and we were all excited. Julia had stopped giving me the silent treatment, and things were sort of going back to being normal. She actually seemed super excited, and I was glad that the whole ordeal was behind us. About a week before we were supposed to leave, I decided to talk to her about it, and I asked her how she felt about the trip. Julia said that she was excited about it, and not worried about anything anymore. Again, I didn't think much about it and was just glad that we were going to have a nice vacation together in Italy. My whole family would be there, including the love of my life, and my beautiful son. It seemed too good to be true. Now we get to the day where we're leaving, and everything actually went to hell. Our flight was a little too early in the morning, so we had to reach the airport at around midnight. Departure was around 3 in the morning, so we decided to arrive early so we could check in and relax for a while. My ex dropped Jamie off at our place that day in the afternoon, and we were done with our final packing. We reached the airport at around 11:30 p.m. We met Kay and T there with their families, and I decided to leave Jamie with my girlfriend to go check in our luggage with my sisters. Up until now, I hadn't told them about the whole drama with Julia because I didn't find it necessary and wanted to keep things private. It was a big mistake. The entire check-in process took about 30 minutes, and the check-in counters were quite far from where the rest of our families were waiting. When we got back, I couldn't find Jamie and Julia anywhere. I figured they'd gone to the restroom, and didn't think much of it. About 5 minutes later, Julia came back, but I couldn't see Jamie with her. I was starting to get slightly panicked and asked her where he was. Then, she told me she had asked her mom, who lived nearby, to come pick him up since he apparently wasn't feeling well. I'm not proud of this, but I completely freaked out. Jamie had seemed perfectly fine when I left to check our luggage in, and there was no way he got sick in the 30 minutes I had been away. I started yelling at her, saying that she had no right to do any of this without my permission, and told her to call her mom back. She said no and started to explain, but at that moment, I had completely had enough. I pulled out my phone and called the cops, reporting the entire incident before I did anything else, all while Julia was screaming in the background at me to stop. The cops showed up pretty fast and took my statement. Luckily, my whole family was there as witnesses, and Julia was arrested on the spot. She was screaming and crying, and all it did was boil my blood more. She luckily decided to tell the cops her mom's license and car model, and she was stopped soon after. They hadn't made it too far from the airport, and her mom was arrested too. My son was returned to me soon after, and we ended up going to the precinct. The cops asked if I wanted to press charges, and I didn't think about it twice before saying yes. Here's where I may have gone too far. K and T told me I was harsh, and getting her arrested was enough to prove a point. They said pressing charges might have gone too far since Jamie was fine, and he was with her mom. However, I don't see how I'm the a-hole here. Everyone around me thinks my reaction was too harsh, but was my reaction too extreme? Update 1, this post got a lot more traction than I expected. It seems I have missed quite a few details in my original post, so I'm going to respond to some questions here. For starters, yes, Julia and I are broken up. There is no other way around it. Second of all, Jamie and I are enjoying our time in Italy right now. We obviously missed our flight that night, but I decided to contact a lawyer and join my sisters and their families a couple of days later. Our vacation is going to be just slightly shorter than planned, but my son is going to have a good time. As for my ex-girlfriend, my lawyers will be taking care of things until I get home. I have decided to go through with pressing charges because this entire thing was absolutely insane. My son has allergies that my ex and her mom didn't know about, and even if he didn't, we are his parents and need to know where he is at all times. She crossed a line that nobody is ever allowed to, and I'm very glad that most of the people who have responded to my posts seem to agree. I also received quite a few questions about my relationship and some stuff I talked about in my original post, so I'm going to clear that up here too. For starters, I did not spring my previous relationship and child on Julia with no warning. She knew before we got together that I was divorced, and that I had a son from my previous marriage. I just didn't want to introduce them too early until I was sure I wanted to marry her, because it might have been too destabilizing for my son. As for ignoring all red flags, yes, I agree, I definitely did. I'm not going to say I was a perfect boyfriend or something, so I guess both of us let things slide that we shouldn't have. For people asking about my ex-wife, 32 female, we did not break up for any dramatic, crazy reason. I'm not sure why this is relevant to the story at all, but we were together for a total of 8 years and ended up growing apart. About the stonewalling, I do have a habit of pushing people away when I'm extremely upset, but in this case, I don't really feel like driving away was a bad reaction to hearing my girlfriend ban me from bringing my own son to my family gathering. As for K and T, once Jamie and I made it to Italy, I told them and their husbands the whole situation. They were shocked, of course, and this time, they 100% agreed to my decision to press charges. After having thought about it for a bit, Jamie might not have been in any immediate danger, but there is absolutely no way to justify what Julia did. Surprisingly, I am doing perfectly fine. Maybe it's because of Italy, but I think I just started liking her less every time she made my son feel unwelcome. This was the last straw, and I felt nothing for her but anger. That's it for now, I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my vacation now. Edit, yes, I know shutting down and stonewalling is a poor reaction in a relationship. I'm not trying to defend myself and say it's okay, but in this situation, I also couldn't care less about what a healthy reaction should be. Thank you to everyone here who completely focused on the wrong part of this story. Update 2, here's a slightly more interesting update for everyone who contacted me regarding it. We got back from Italy a couple of weeks ago, and I think I am so satisfied with our time there. It was definitely the best time with Jamie, even if he won't remember most of it. Now back to the good stuff. I went through with pressing charges against Julia and her mom. I do not regret it, and I am more sure now than ever that they got what was coming for them. Julia was actually insane, holding a grudge against a 2-year-old baby and getting her crazy mom in on it too. My lawyers are great and are handling everything for me. I don't think they're going to get a lot of jail time, if at all, but I don't care about that, I just want them to be punished for what they did. The arraignment was done the day after they were arrested, so we have to hurry it up now. Luckily, I have plenty of witnesses, evidence from security cameras in the airport parking lot and inside, and text evidence between me, her, and her mother. I don't think the trial will be too drawn out or insane, it'll most likely be wrapped up within a couple of months. I, on the other hand, plan on taking a little break from women and dating. I think I was too wrapped up in my relationship to prioritize my son, who is the only person here who actually matters. Julia and her mom got bailed out for now, and she's been blowing up my phone every day with the craziest range of texts, anywhere from threats to apologies. On advice from my lawyer, I have been screenshotting and saving all of them so I can file for a restraining order against her. He says it'll help our case too. There are still times I wonder whether I'm going too far or not because kidnapping is considered a federal crime and the consequences can be pretty bad. It's a constant loop in my head, did it go too far? And my child could have been in danger. For now, I am continuing to press charges. The responses from people here have been encouraging me to move forward with this too, although the doubts will obviously remain. Also, after reading some comments from here and talking to my legal team, I have filed for a restraining order for me and my son against Julia and her mother. This should also help me out when it comes to the court case, a paper trail always helps. As for the actual case, I can't say much right now as it hasn't been that long, and I've been advised to sort of keep it quiet. These details are pretty basic, so I don't think it should matter that much. I will be back to update if anything significant happens, but I think this will be pretty cut and dry for now. Thanks to everyone who reached out and gave me some validation regarding my decisions. Update 3, updating this after our whole situation is finally over. While everyone here advised me not to drop my charges, I have some disappointing news. I decided to have the charges dropped on advice from my lawyer for a couple of reasons. For starters, she never took my son across state lines, so not a federal issue, my mistake earlier. He was also only about 30 minutes away the whole time, and it wasn't an aggravated or malicious action. However, if there's any consolation, I filed for and was granted a restraining order against Julia for Jamie and myself. I am not afraid of her, and I don't think she will do anything further, but I definitely want some sort of paper trail just in case. I guess I just wanted some sort of revenge, and I got it. After I filed for and was granted a restraining order, she didn't try contacting me again, so I think it worked out pretty well. I don't think she feels bad for what she did, I think she just feels bad that she has to face consequences for her act finally, because restraining orders do show up on your background checks for jobs and such. It won't show up on a criminal background check, but it will on a civil background check, and I think that's good enough. For those asking about my and my son's well-being, firstly, thank you. Your concern is appreciated. We're doing all right for now. I honestly just want to move on from the whole thing. Jamie is doing fine, he's way too young to know what's going on anyway. On the other hand, I definitely have some issues regarding trust and relationships from now on. A bunch of people here have mentioned therapy, and I plan on booking my first appointment soon. As for relationships, I do have some more news. As it turns out, this whole situation concerned my son and therefore concerned my ex-wife as well. As I had said before, we didn't have some sort of big falling out, we just sort of grew apart. This whole ordeal meant spending a lot of time together, though, and I got to see how she was with our son. Hanging out with her on some sort of common ground felt really good, and I felt some kind of way about her. She's a beautiful and strong woman, and I think I may want to try working on our relationship sometime in the future if she's open to it. I would feel a lot more secure about my son too, instead of possibly introducing him to some crazy selfish future girlfriend. I know not everyone is like that, but it's in my head now and it won't be going away anytime soon. I don't think it would be a great idea to talk to her about it anytime soon, though, since everyone's emotions are still on high after the Julia situation, and I think my ex might partially blame me for it. She hasn't said anything indicating this. It might just be my own guilt, but I want my head on right before I try anything. Therapy first. Update 4. Hello everyone, I'm back for what I think will be my final update. I had my first therapy appointment about a week after my last update, and I have been going regularly for a couple of months now. I do feel a lot better about myself and my relationship with my son. I am trying to spend as much quality time with him as I possibly can. When I picked him up from his mom's place the past few times, I did end up chatting with her sometimes as well. I definitely had a crush on her all over again. A lot of people here said it was because of the weird and stressful situation we were in, and that my feelings weren't real. I agree, I think, but I did end up calling my sisters to talk to them about it. I don't think I mentioned this before, but my sisters adored my ex-wife. She got along great with my family and still does, unlike Julia, which definitely should have been a giant warning sign for me. My sisters were thrilled and squealing like we were all high schoolers again, so it's safe to say they loved the idea. Well, the last time I went to pick up Jamie, I asked my ex, who I'm going to refer to as Amy now, if I could come a little early to chat with her. She agreed, and I decided to just be upfront and tell her I had feelings for her. I told her I would understand if she didn't want to give this another shot, and that I wouldn't bring it up again if she said not to, but I'd love to take her out for dinner sometime and maybe try to work on things between us again romantically. She didn't respond at first, and my heart was going a million miles an hour. She said she'd think about it and let me know, but she doesn't want to make a rushed decision just yet. I left with Jamie and didn't bother about it after that. This was a week ago. Last night, Amy called me. This usually never happens because pickups are done on Sundays, and it was Wednesday, and of course, I almost passed out from anxiety. She let me know that she's thought about it and is open to starting fresh. So yeah, I'm taking her for dinner this Friday. My sister Kay will be babysitting Jamie. I called my sisters first thing this morning to let them know, and I wanted to give a short update here because I'm so excited. It's actually disgusting. Anyway, that's going to be my last update here. Thank you again to everyone who wished me well.